and the Prince were piling on the runs at the Wankhede Stadium, but then a certain Madhushanka came in and said, let me silence the crowd a little bit. He started chipping away, getting wickets. He got 5 of them until the local boy Shreyas Iyer came to the rescue, and well, he got a quick fire 82 of 56 balls. India have managed 357 at the end of the 50 overs. Welcome back to Cricbuzz Live. I'm Saiyami Kher and I have Joyda and Simon with me. Gentlemen, you know, we've learned how to be humble on Cricbuzz Live. So very humbly, I want to first accept the victory
Well done.
of the prediction game.
Well done.
Do the Shubman Gill celebration of you.
I mean, they've just got a statue of Sachin Master in the ground for you. So how could you not get it?
I had to perform for the Master today, just like how Gill and Virat Kohli have.
It's your home ground.
My home ground.
You know the conditions well. It's acceptable.
Just one question. Was that Steve Smith's statue? No, that was Sachin. Sorry, nothing to do with anything. Sorry.
We can just pretend like this didn't happen, Joyda. We will pretend like this didn't happen. A lot of time and effort has gone behind that great statue. So we will pretend like that didn't happen. We'll go back to the performances of course, my prediction and what Virat, Shreyas and Shubman Gill did for the Master who was sitting there in the stadiums. But Simon, do you think India is going to be happy? They started off with that little scare with Rohit getting out. Sri Lanka started bowling well, but you know, Shubman and Virat Kohli steadied the ship, piled on the runs. Shreyas came in, listened to the pre-match show and said, let me show you all how it's done.
Yeah, I think they'll be very happy. We go back to that first Combox stint we did, and they could have been 3 for 30. So I think Sri Lanka bowled really nicely in that first 8-9 overs, created opportunities, didn't take their opportunities, and in the end they paid the price for that. But, you know, from 2 drop catches, an early wicket of Rohit, I think they'll be very, very happy with 357. If we only think back one day, there was another team, I can't remember who they were, that put another side into bat first. And I think they got 357 as well, batting first, when they were sent into bat. And then won by maybe 190 or something like that. So we might see something similar today. But I would say they will be over the moon.
I wouldn't know which team that sent the team in.
But you don't know. It just
that was yesterday. Today is today. Another day. Carry on.
But Joyda, first, before we get to the Prince and the King, I'd like to talk about Shreyas. We spoke about him in the pre-match show. We spoke about how the short ball's troubling him. Every time we've spoken about maybe should he be dropped, he comes back in and says, wait, let me silence the world.
And look, this is the kind of innings which tells you his utility in the middle order, because he has that great ability to be able to play spin. Plays very late, spin very late, which is a great advantage because it allows him to place. Look at that strike rate, 146.43, 3 4 6 sixes, and this is very typically a Shreyas innings. So if you see the sixes, all the sixes were in that mid-on to mid-off arc. You know, all the sixes up there, okay? A lot of his fours, at least 2 of his fours were dabs down to third man, fine third man. Again, waiting for the spin at the very last minute and then placing it 1 to square leg. It tells you it's very typically how he plays his game. You know, attacking the spinners up front, hitting them straight, always taking singles. Again, the great thing, one of the things that I think Virat Kohli has done very well for India is get them to start running. All of them are very good runners between the wicket. They aggressively go on singles and twos. And I think that's what Virat did. With Shreyas did, and in that middle order, that 60-run partnership that they had, I think that was Rahul and Shreyas had a 60-run partnership. While you look at the 193-run partnership, this 60-run partnership was equally important for India.
Simon, you know, it's one is Shreyas, the batter had to come, perform, prove a point, but also Shreyas for Team India doing well was very important because, you know, if India had to go through that collapse, if he had to get out, then those questions of, oh, should we get another batter who bats at number 8, but thankfully all that has been silenced because of Shreyas' knock.
Yeah, and I'm just looking through his numbers in his career. Like his strike rate is just under 100, 98.2. He's averaging 45 and change. He's just ticked over 2,000 runs. So when you strike in at a high tempo, up around that 100 mark, you're going to take risks. And I saw that today from him. Even though they lost a couple of wickets, he still took some risks early on. He plays the big shot. So at times he's going to get out. He is going to be dismissed. And it might not always look pretty. And I think that's why when you look from the outside, and if you're sort of looking along at Shreyas, sometimes you think, oh, why is he getting out like that all the time? Why is he getting caught at mid-wicket off the spinners regularly? Why is he getting caught at long on off the spinners regularly? He's doing that because he's trying to push the boundaries. He's trying to, play the big shots. So when you strike it near 100 in ODI cricket, you are going to take risks. And he is that sort of player that he will take risks, he will take the bowling on, and when it comes off, you get an innings like you got today. Yes. At a strike rate of 143, which takes a team from a possible 300 to 357. And that's one of the keys. Those middle order players are so vital that can play that sort of role, but they don't always come off. So sometimes it looks ugly, it looks horrible, you'll get criticised. But when it comes off, you laud it. So you can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't have it both ways with Shreyas. And that's just one of those times when it has come off, when it doesn't, okay, we've just got to sit back and say, oh, look, that's the role he's been asked to play. He too is playing a bit like Rohit. He's playing quite a selfless role in that middle order, trying to get that score up to up to in excess of 350. So I accept it. I accept that that's his role. And I think India kind of have to accept that that's the role they want him to play. He will have as many failures as he has successes, but when he has successes, just enjoy them.
Well, we surely did enjoy them, and we also enjoyed what the Prince did today. We spoke about him in the pre-match show, about how he probably was that one box which India would like to be ticked, and Shubman said, okay, he's put his hand up. 92 he got today. Always such a delight to watch Shubman Gill bat, isn't it, Joy?
Absolutely. And I think very interesting innings, because his innings started off, remember, India were 4 for 1 after 2 balls. And suddenly, again, you've got this shock of the early wicket coming on. So, and remember, those first 8-10 overs, I mean, there were a couple of catches. There's a cotton ball which went down. There's one at a really difficult point. I think at point that also went down. But the point was that it wasn't easy going up front. And, it's easy to say that, India's got a solid batting lineup and they did it. But they weathered through that first, literally the first 45, 50 balls, they weathered through. It was tough going. And Shubman at that point in time, both of them looked assured. They tried, they gave the occasional, both of them gave chances. But after that, they played safe. They saw through that period while still keeping that run rate around 3, 4, 5 and then pushed it up to 6. And it was a great, great effort. Virat, we are used to something like this. He's mature enough. He has seen he's scored 48 centuries in situations like this. So he knows how to play this. I thought Shubman played beautifully, because it's very easy to lose your head when the ball's doing a bit. The bowlers are bowling well. There's a little bit of zip out there, that extra bounce that the Wankhede gives you. And just to play through that till you were absolutely dominant. And when you guys left, basically the run rate is over 6, 30 overs of 6. Is a perfect foundation. You've just given the middle order and said, okay, we've done it for you, now go and finish it.
But Simon, it's also, the tempo in which Shubman played, because like Joyda was saying, it was tough. So he weathered that, and when Kohli was approaching his 100, it was almost like Shubman said, okay, let me take it to 5th gear, and he started taking on the bowlers. So you could almost see this partnership between them, very thoughtfully done by both of them.
Yeah, match awareness. I think that's one of the keys when I look at Shubman play. I mean, the partnership was this, it's sort of took India from 4 for 1 through to that 189 run partnership. So it's what was needed, and I totally agree with what Joy said. There was some good delivery, some really good deliveries. Chamira was outstanding, I thought, today. I know you look at the figures and you think, wow, he's gone for 60 odd, but that first spell, he was really, really good. Madhushanka bowled nicely up front, but they got through that. And we've seen that often in this tournament, that early wickets in that power play have set teams back big time at different times in the tournament. If you weather through that, get through that, then the ball just slides on a bit nicer. It becomes easier to bat. He's very pleasing. He's got pretty much got everything. He's quite annoying, isn't he, Shubman Gill, really? I mean, he's a good-looking rooster. He can play cricket. He's got a six-pack. There's a lot to dislike about the bloke, but I can't dislike him. It's just a joy to watch when he bats, and that partnership was really good.
Well, he's learned from the best, because he saw Virat Kohli right up there, and again, Virat doing Virat things, because if he's given a chance, he was dropped when he was on 10, I think. So when he's given that chance, he doesn't let go. He'll be furious with himself, because again, he was so close to that 100, but wasn't meant to be.
Well, and not only that, he'll be furious that he didn't go and hammer it in. They might have reached 370, 380 had he stayed there. I think that is something which he should be more bothered about. Again, very interesting, because right now, the two players that I'm watching very carefully, and obviously they play very in the same way. They're very playing David Warner and Virat Kohli are playing percentage cricket. Once they get a chance, if they've got that chance and somebody's allowed them to get past that 5, 10, 15 run mark when they're finally set, they're not taking chances. And they're not taking chances because both of them are extremely fit. Virat, obviously, super fit. They'll run, they'll take their ones, they'll try and get twos, they'll try and push the bowling around, they'll try and work the field around. So they're playing super percentage cricket, and I think that's what Virat is doing so well. Again, once that first chance is gone, it's a riskless innings. He's not taking chances. No sixes for him. 11 fours, no sixes for him. He's not taking chances, waiting for the bad ball. And that's why he'd probably be upset with himself that, that's just one slower that he didn't read and just popped up to,
It's the template that India kind of need to play with, though, that what we saw today, because when Shami's come in at 8, that's the template they have to use. They can't afford to go all guns blazing too quickly. They have to have those periods of play where they're going to consolidate if they lose an early wicket or 2 early wickets. Because with Shami in at 8, you saw, yes, he can find the boundary. Yes, Bumrah can find the boundary on the odd occasion, but they will do it once every 10 innings. They won't do it 3, 4, 5 times. So they have to play at that sort of tempo, whereas by the time they reach the 40th over, much like South Africa, when they're only 1, 2, 3 down, they can really push on then, and they have the players with the ability to do that. It wasn't Surya's day today, but it was Shreyas's day, and Jadeja's more than capable, if not, one of the better number 7s around. So after that, there's not much.
Yes.
So they have to be a little bit cautious through that early period up to the 30th over, and I think that's the template that I see success for India.
That's very true. It's a very, very, very justified point that having that change of batter at 8 influences you right up to opening. And, which is what Rohit was saying even from the start of the tournament. The one reason he wanted Shardul at 8 was he wanted to bat in a particular way up front. And so they haven't managed to do that, but now they've adjusted. This is their new plan. Virat will play riskless innings. Shubman will try and do it. Rohit will attack at the start. So they've adjusted to
the roles
Shami, with Shami batting at 8. But they're absolutely right. They cannot take chances till a particular time. And again, India would have probably liked to come to that 40th over with 3 down instead of 4.
Yeah.
But, that's the template that India is going to play with.
But it's a better side now. I think it's a better side. Obviously, it's a much better side when Hardik is back in, I think. But it's a better balanced side having those 5 bowlers. So I don't mind them playing the way they're playing now because of that option that it gives them with the 5 bowlers. So I think it's the best place to be.
So what happens when Hardik comes back? Who goes out?
Surya goes.
Surya goes.
Yeah. Surya goes and Hardik becomes your 6th bowler, and that's it. And if he bowls, he bowls. If he doesn't have to bowl, there's no issue.
Okay.
But Joyda, I wanted to just understand, so Virat's gotten an 85, he's gotten out on the 95 and an 88 this World Cup. So I know people say we don't go for the records, we don't think about the hundreds, but there is a lot of discussion on that 49th and 50th 100. So do you think that plays on the mind of players as great as him as well?
It plays on everyone's mind. It's a huge milestone, plays on mind, but I think it will play on your mind. I think he's telling himself that none of this is important. I mean, what Virat will want to dearly do is that period, post 2011, then the Champions Trophy, we haven't had a major ICC tournament. We haven't won a major ICC tournament. And I think that's what will be driving him, because both he and Rohit are, looking where more of their careers in the past than is in the future. And they're saying this is the best chance. This is not as strong an Australian team as normally is, though they have turned up well. Okay, there's a big South Africa looking really strong, but none of the others are looking that great. Home conditions, we've just got to make it count. I think they are going, all that they're thinking about is just that. And I think they're very, very focused on that this is their best opportunity. And I think nothing's going to take away from that.
His hundreds, I think if they come in a second innings in a chase when the game is being won, I don't have a problem with that. And I think what we see is he will take a few more risks setting a total, and I think that's a good thing. I like seeing him do that. So when he's getting out in the 80s or 90s, if they're setting a total, I got no issue with that. I don't think it's worrying him at all. I don't think he's thinking about that. When we go back to the earlier game when he and KL sort of dotted it round for him to get to the 100, I don't mind that at all, because you're in a chasing situation and the game's won.
It's under control.
I don't care about that in any situation. I mean, I was very critical of Daryl Mitchell in that India game. He dawdled his way to 100, and New Zealand lost all momentum when they were batting first. They lost it in the first 10 overs. They were 3 down early, then they gained it all back, and then from 89 to 100, He dawdled his way with dots. The guy at the other end was pushing ones. And they lost all momentum going into the last 10 overs, and India grabbed it all back. New Zealand should have got in excess of 300 in that game. So batting first, you've got to take more risks. Batting second, absolutely. I do not care. I don't care if it takes you 15 balls to get 5 runs to get to 100 if you win the game.
As long as you made the chase safe.
As long as you made the chase safe and won the game, no issue with that at all. So I like the fact that he's actually looking to take a few more risks, and I think he'll continue to do it because he understands it is more about winning than it is about those milestones.
Well, to be fair to Virat's knock today, I think he's got a 85 of 92 balls, but it was also setting it up because Rohit went in earlier, and he is someone who starts off a little slow and then accelerates, but unfortunately it didn't happen today. That's all.
No, and look again, this run rate is nothing to. Just remember, between the two of them, they batted after a wicket goes down. The second ball of the innings, they batted at more than 6 and over for that entire period. So if you look at the combined batting effort, because when Virat's looking up, he's not looking up at his score, he's looking at the scoreboard and saying, okay, 30 overs, where are we? 20 overs, where are we? And he's calibrating and seeing where he can be. And therefore, the only reason he would probably be cursing himself was that he was deceived by the ball.
Yes.
It was a good ball, he was deceived by the ball. And normally Virat, he has that problem, but it's normally not so late in his innings. This is a very Virat shot early on when he sort of goes early for it, but he would be just telling himself, normally at this stage of the innings I never get out like that. So that's the only thing you'd say, and I thought that the Sri Lankan bowlers bowled well to whatever they did, and especially Chameera bowled brilliantly today. I thought just didn't get the rewards he deserved, but they were good.
We'll have a look at the bowling card because yes, they bowled well. The numbers don't do justice to it, but Madhushanka got those 5 wickets. Is the most expensive 5-wicket haul. He's gone for 80 runs. Chameera was very good, but he's gone for 71 as well. And Tikshana again, unfortunately, very expensive. Nothing coming out of the hand well. Shreyas took on the Dushan as well. But Simon, early on, I remember in the first com box also, we spoke about how there was a lot of assist for the bowlers. We could see them, cutting the batsmen into half. There was swing and there was a lot of assist for the bowlers, but then it almost felt like once that phase got over and they dropped a few catches and then it was all India all the way through.
Yeah, it was, and that's what I'll be interested to see in the second innings. That first 10, 11 overs, look out for Bumrah, Shami, Suraj. I mean, if they get the ball to move, Sri Lanka could be 3-4 down in a hurry. You've got to get through that first 7, 8, 9, 10 overs. And what we've seen is it does get easier. It's slowed up a little bit. There'll be a little bit of dew. It's been a very steamy day. There'll be a little bit of dew. But one thing we have seen a lot of, and people talk about bowling first, because of the dew later in the evening. It hasn't really taken effect until around about the 25 over mark. We're starting at 2 o'clock. A lot of people are still talking about IPL times when we start the games at 7 and all of a sudden the second innings is all dew because it starts at 9, 9:30. Whereas it's not arriving or it's not sort of forming till around about 8 o'clock, most grounds we've been to. So you're 20, 25 overs into that second innings before there's any sign of wetness in the outfield. So the game has been done on so many occasions because before that time.
Yes.
I mean, you look at the scores up to that first 20, 25 overs in the second innings, so often the game has been done. So you haven't actually been able to take advantage of any dew or a wet ball late in the innings. So what I'd like to see is teams be a little more circumspect because you can probably get 8, 10 and over if it's wet and skidding on later on in the piece, but you can't do that when you're 3, 4, 5 down.
Even the game against England, same situation. Once, if you get those 3, 4, 5 wickets up front, you've got the advantage, then they're already in the back foot.
Yeah.
But if somebody's sitting out there and saying, you know what, we could really count a toll on them. And then also the spinners. How do you bowl the spinners now? You probably now say that by the 11th over, I've got to get, Kuldeep in at least, get 3, 4 overs out of Kuldeep, get 3, 4, 5 overs out of Jadeja. This period, you'll want to get more of your bowlers out there. But the problem with India
so almost like before 8:30, you want to get done with a little bit more of your spin.
Yeah, a little bit of spin. We did see a little bit of turn as well. We saw a couple of balls, from the leggy spin. So there is a little bit there.
But, Simon, just a little bit more on Madhushanka because he's a young boy and we've got you in the house. Chaminda Vas will be a proud man. Won't look at the runs there, but just the wickets that he got, very intelligent bowling, and he really troubled Virat, Gill, and of course got that peach to Rohit.
There's a lot to like about Dilshan Madhushanka. He swings the ball back. He's got good pace, in the late 130s. He's got that little cutter, the one that went across Rohit Sharma. He's caused a lot of problems for a lot of batters and a lot of very good players in this tournament. There's a huge amount of upside to him. I think, had a decent time of it through the Asia Cup. He's progressed a little bit more. He just needs some help. When Chamira's fit, it's a better looking bowling attack. It's unfortunate, Theekshana sort of needs a mate at the other end. I don't know who that's going to be. He's worried about having a friend at the other end. Everybody needs a friend. But look, I think there's a lot to like about Madhushanka, and in the right sort of conditions. Don't worry about the 80. The thing is, what you're looking to do is take wickets. If you can take wickets at regular intervals, then you put sides on the back foot. He wasn't able to do that through the middle, but he came back and bowled really well.
Well, he's striking every 20 balls this World Cup. He's got 18 wickets already.
I think he's their leading, he's been their leading bowler in this tournament by a wide margin. See, I'll tell you one interesting thing. If you see what happened to Rohit, he's faced 2 balls. What happened to the first ball? It swung enough for Rohit to basically flick it for 4, just, guide it down to the long leg fence for 4. Now, what that told Rohit is the ball is swinging in.
Yes.
The next ball, he doesn't swing. He goes straight through. And he plays for the swing and he loses his off stump. Had he not lost his off stump, there was still a very, very good chance he would have nicked it off. So what I'm telling you is that the moment you get swing up front, you're putting doubts in the batsman's mind. And I think Madhushanka is doing that on a consistent basis. He's easily their best bowler. And I think, to be honest with you, I also think he's really developed this World Cup because he's been the lead of the attack. He hasn't had, Chamira has just come in the last couple of matches after Lahir Kumara went out. So he's led the attack throughout. He was the man before the attack. And
he's still a young man as well, isn't he?
All of 20,
Yeah. Still
so
a
I
young
think
man.
he's got a...
the disappointment from Sri Lanka for this tournament will probably be Patirana. They looked for him and Madhushanka to kind of lead that attack at a young age and get rolling for maybe the next T20 World Cup next year and then for the future. So that will be the disappointing thing for them from Patirana's point of view, because he was probably seen as a death bowling specialist and a guy who could give you a few overs through the middle as well. He didn't always have to bowl 10 overs, but he was the sort of guy that could bring through the middle, maybe for 3 or 4 overs, and then bowl 3 or 4 at the back end. So you get 7 or 8 overs out of him. But he's been a real disappointment, I think.
But Sangakkara actually had said that Patirana and Velilage are, I think, 1 World Cup too early to lead the attack.
So too early to lead, I get. But I think they were hoping for a bit more from them, a bit more learning from them, and I don't think we've quite seen that.
Also, the big thing about Patirana is something that he said, that he's a guaranteed 4-over bowler in a T20 game, but he's not a 10-over bowler. And there's a difference, and that's something that, once the format changes to the longer format, it is, because he becomes more predictable. You play him through 2-3 more overs, you can sight him better. And then once the problem with somebody like him is because he's young, you're going to hit him, he tends to start spraying it around then. And I think that's what they're saying, that, okay, work in progress, sadly the injury, stopped the development.
Yeah.
But I think Madhushanka is right up there. And with him, Chamira, I think they've got the beginnings of an attack that's looking threatening.
But Simon, Chaminda Vaz, who used to coach Madhushanka, also spoke about how he needs to kind of keep workload management in mind. Because of his action, he can be very injury prone.
Yeah, it's a tough one. It's what happens when you get a new Christmas present, isn't it? You sort of all you want to do for the first 10 days after Christmas is play with it, and that's exactly what Sri Lanka will find with Madhushanka. They can't push him at a young age. They can't make him play every game. Look what happened to Shaheen over the first sort of 3-4 years of his career. He played every game, every format, and in the end, it told on his body. And at a young age, he had injuries that he's still struggling to come back from, to be honest. So you can't keep pushing a young man like Madhushanka. They have to think about where and when they play him, how they manage his workloads. If you get a really flat one in a test match situation, just don't play him. Leave him out. Make sure he's sort of working on his action, getting enough rest, because at 20, he hasn't still developed. At 23, 24, he's more fully developed and he's learnt his trade better. So, looking at next year's T20 World Cup and then the World Cup, 50-over World Cup after that, they might be a better time for him to be playing more and more cricket, but don't push him too hard too early.
I'll tell you one thing, it's very interesting, and Simon will know much more about this. Until the time there was not so much television and so much league cricket and so much on, where you see every, speed guns everywhere.
Yes.
A lot of bowlers would play a lot of matches where they'd bowl well within themselves, fast bowlers. Yeah. Wasim Akram would go all out maybe 2, 3, 4 times a year. For Lancashire, maximum that, and maybe in the big test matches, maybe one spell, two spells. People didn't go all out. Now the game has totally changed. You can't afford to do that. You have to bowl at a pace. So when people talk, they seriously talk about the fact that they didn't have so many injuries in those days. The truth is, bowlers today are subject to far more stress in terms of their action, in terms of needing to be at a particular pace and action than they ever were in the past.
Well, Simon, you've said beware and look out to what Bumrah and Shami do. But with 358 to chase, how do you think Sri Lanka is going to approach this? Because they will obviously know and be aware of what Shami and Bumrah are going to do.
Yeah, look, get through that first 8 or 10 overs. And if, Karunaratne, they bought in that last game because they wanted a little more solidity at the top of the order. They weren't happy with the starts they were getting. Nisanka's talented. Mendes is talented. Samara Wickrama, we've seen what he can do through the tournament. But they can't be in that first 8, 9, 10 overs. If they lose 2 or 3 early, they're in all sorts of trouble. And it's not going to be easy because, as we've talked about already, this Indian attack is incredibly good, but they just have to try and weather that storm. I can see with what I saw from Chamira, Rajitha, from Madhushanka up front with that newish ball, it's not going to be easy. It's going to be quite difficult, I think. So it's going to be a really tough time for those first 8, 9, 10 overs.
But Joyda, can we expect them to counter-attack? We spoke about this, I think, yesterday as well, is when you have a target which is up there, you need someone to derail the bowlers. So can we expect Sri Lanka to maybe counter-attack?
Look, I think Nisanka will attack. The key is Kushal Mendes because he has that ability to really, go after you. And if, somewhere, if you saw even the way he counter-attacked the South Africans, of course, for a brief time, they were 94 in 7-8 overs. He was going absolutely berserk. So they have that ability. But as I said, they've now got, they have a situation where they've got to break it up. And again, what Simon was saying, that if dew is going to play a factor, then perhaps you bottom load a bit. Perhaps you say 8 and over in the last 25 is not that difficult. So if you say, if 8 and over in the last 20 is 25 is what? 200 runs. So if you say 200 runs, then that means you're saying in the first 25 overs, in the first part, can I get myself 150 odd runs? And I'm there. 25 overs, 150 runs is what? 6 and over? Yeah. I think that if they sort of keep to that sort of a template, they'll be better off rather than trying to get to 70, 80 in the first 10.
We'll wait and watch and see what approach they come out with. We'll quickly have a look at the points table because like Joyda has spoken about this, but Sri Lanka know exactly what they need to do. They need to get this win to survive in the World Cup, and India get this win and they get that Q next to their name, Simon.
Yeah, look, it's India's to take. Sri Lanka are going to have to be unbelievable to chase this score down, and they need everything to go their way. It's their tournament on the line, so who steps up for them? The captain probably has to. As I say, Karunaratne, he's more of a test match player or style player, but he's going to have to sort of weather that storm up front. And if Nisanka can get them off to a start, I agree with Joy, they don't have to go hammer and tongs. They can be 4.5, 5 and over for the first 10, as long as they don't lose a wicket. And if India don't pick up early wickets, then they probably have to go to spin. And then maybe things change a little bit as well. So it's going to be a crucial little period, that first power play.
Joyda, 80-20 India?
Actually, I'll say 75-25. I think because, not for any other reason, but because the reason I feel is that Sri Lanka has nothing to lose. So they'll throw everything. They'll throw the kitchen sink at it, Sri Lanka today could lose by 100 runs, easily lose by 100 runs.
190 maybe.
Yeah. Oh. You had to do that. That was unnecessary.
Yeah, I had to do it.
Have you heard of Atiti Deva Bhava? The guest is God. This is the way you treat guests in our country. Good Lord.
Oh. But I don't know which team you're talking about. I just just a number, yeah?
Yesterday, it was like a 2.5-hour drive from Pune and a long night's sleep ago. I don't even know who that was.
We don't know.
Yeah.
But we know one thing, that we had a winner in the prediction game, right? So
yeah, she reminded us for the 374th time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, 357 was the score. The number of times she reminded us she won. I'm trying to remember which one it is.
All right. So does the winner go first?
Yes.
For the third time now.
358.
Yeah, 358.
I'm going to go with 54. Simon,
Conservative. 47.
71.
Ooh.
Wow.
Sri Lanka have nothing to lose is what Joyda has said. So 71 it is for him. 54 for me, and 47 for Simon. Well, I don't mind winning twice at all. Don't mind it at all, guys.
359th
I
time.
think
Don't mind it.
is it dinner time? I think Sammy needs some humble pie.
360, yeah.
All right, we're going to order some humble pie for me, and we're going to order the risotto for Simon. And of course, Joyda has his menu set. That's what we're going to go and do. But don't forget to join us at the 15th over point, the Cricbuzz Combox. We'll see you all there.